Good morning. Good morning, good morning. Or good afternoon, or good evening, good day, good moment. It's happening. Get Your News On with Ron will be starting as soon as you guys show up to hang. What's up, Karen? You're first. You're typically first. Today is no difference. What's up, Red Economics? Good to see you. Good morning, Matthew. We have a lot to talk about today. I don't know if we're going to get to everything I have planned. Hi, Jeffrey. How are you? What's up, Omar? Good to see you. I drink water out of a jar. Today's David Bowie's birthday. What's up, Chris? Oh, sorry to hear you're sick. Get some rest and get some pho. Whenever I'm sick, my favorite thing to do is eat pho. Or I guess favorite's a weird way to put it because no one likes being sick. But I mean like something I like to do to help. I like to eat pho. What's up, Mr. Gon? Hello, Gigi. What's up, Timothy? Hello, Edwin. Howdy, howdy, Sam. What's up, Spider? What's up? Omar says Rebel, Rebel. Mystic Warrior, going to come see you in Gainesville. That's awesome. I can't wait to meet you. And I hope you'll let me hear some of your music. That'd be really cool. Can't wait to see you in Gainesville. What's up, Tanya? What's up, Pat? Pat wishes David Bowie a happy birthday. We're going to be talking about it. I know that Music Monday was yesterday, because yesterday was Monday. But, you know, we get a little bit of Music Monday every day. It's just how it goes here. It happens. It happens. So we're going to be talking about it. But my question for today is going to be a fun one. What's up, Dan? And we are at 30. Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. Right? Hey, that's what we do here. Good to see everybody. By the way, if you don't know what that means people send me ideas, they send me articles, and that's how we build the show. They either tweet it at me or they post it in my Reddit subsection, which is reddit.com/r/getyournewsonwithron. And that's how we build the show. I'm seeing all this stuff for the first time. I'm learning about all this stuff for the first time. We are literally getting the news together, learning about the world, unpacking it together. Because the world is just depressing, and it's better to kind of go through it as a group. And instead of on our own, why not? This is my morning coffee. This is literally it. Right? Yeah. So here's today's topic. This is going to be a fun one. I'm excited about this. Oh, wow. And I just screwed up. I just closed out of what I wanted to show you guys. All right. Let me get back to it. But I want to talk about this today. And I want to talk about some other things today. And I want to talk about David Bowie today. And I want to talk about healthcare. All right, here we go. All right, we're back. Sorry about that. Boom. You'll share this apartment with a stranger, but don't dare call it a dorm. All right. So the first step into a posh new apartment building near Marina del Rey, which is a pretty nice neighborhood in the Los Angeles area. It's kind of near Venice. Feels like a mistake. There's no lobby. Instead, the doors open to a lounging kitchen. The idea is to encourage mingling, which is part of the appeal of a building where tenants have their own bedrooms but share common areas with people they don't know. But this is not your typical LA roommate situation. The bedrooms are spacious, the living rooms are furnished, and the residents are often selected by the landlord. Welcome to co-living. In a time of sky-high rents, the shared economy has transformed how we get around, how we travel, who sits next to us at the office, and now with whom we share our private spaces. Real estate developers like California Landmark Group, which owns apartment building 1C, are pioneering a new way of living. People get in others' cars and sleep in other people's beds. This is a natural expansion of the housing market and the shared economy. Co-living has the benefit of offering renters in search of social connection the chance to bond with new acquaintances in similar situations. Individual tenants at C1 pay at least $2,000 a month. So it's really cheap and affordable. But that's still cheaper than comparative singles in the neighborhood. That's true. That is cheaper than most places in Marina del Rey. So typically, a co-living renter has a private bedroom and can spring for a private bathroom, but they share the kitchen, the living room, and communal spaces. So it sounds like they don't always have a private bathroom, but they can spring for a private bathroom. Maybe that's a little extra. So I guess my assessment of this is, I guess it's cool. There's some kind of response to the society that we're in, but I think it's very sad that this has to be a thing. And, you know, whenever you hear the word shared economy, there's a little bit of an alert flag that goes up, because this concerns me, and this should concern you, that we're just going to sort of accept this as normal. That we're just going to kind of take this economy where, again, just in California alone, 40% of residents live at or below the poverty line. In California, one of the richest states in the country, one of the states that kind of sets the tone for the rest of the country, in California, 40% of residents live at or below the poverty line. But when you hear stuff like, oh, we got the gig economy, the shared economy, hey, we figured it out. We're going to be fine. We just need to have co-living housing. We just need to have Uber and Lyft, and we need to have more contractors, and people need to just continue to cut up pieces of the already diminishing pie until they have just enough that they taste a morsel. That's the concern. It leads to more articles saying, oh, millennials are fine. They're just rich in a different way. They don't have any resources or ability to do anything. But they can live in cities because they have to, because there's no jobs. It leads to more stuff like that. So while I think it's kind of cool that there's some kind of alternative, although these spaces are still very expensive, I don't like the idea that we're accepting stuff like this as normal. And we already have types of alternative housing in the United States. You know, if you really want to explore alternative housing but live in a bustling city, you could work at a hostel in exchange for housing. You could do an extended stay in some type of artist housing. A lot of cities offer stuff like that. So again, I'm not against this existing. I am wary at making the shared economy and the gig economy the new normal in our society. That's kind of my assessment on it. But my question to you, would you guys live in something like this? Would you do it? For me, if I was in a situation and it was my best and only option, I would. But I would certainly, it wouldn't be my first choice. I'd rather just kind of team up with roommates. You know, I'd rather just get, I mean, that's another thing. You can always have roommates. You know, I bet that if you found a 2-bedroom in Marina Del Rey, or, you know, some kind of like a house or something, you could probably beat $2,000 a month if you did something like that. So, or, you know, if you're in a relationship, that always helps too. You know, me and my fiance and I share a 1-bedroom because that's all the space we need. It's just the two of us, and we split the rent, so that makes it cheaper. So I guess, you know, my answer is, if it was my best option, I wouldn't be opposed to it if I were in such a situation. But it certainly wouldn't be my first choice. I'd rather just have roommates, because then at least it's like you're going in it with people you know. But if it's my best choice, we'll see. What are you guys saying? Let me see what you guys are saying. We were done with that article as soon as an ad popped up. How cool is that? All right, so let me see what you guys are saying in response to this. We need to fix inequality, but people need solutions in the meantime. I agree. Let's see. $311 by design brings up mini houses. I have heard that. At least they aren't little sleeper cells, Pat points out. That's very true. The cost of housing in California is absurd. People don't think about moving here. It is very high here. Mike S. points out they hope we become complacent. Exactly. That's sort of my concern. However, again, and I'll point this out again, I'm not against it existing because we need something. But, again, I am concerned about this becoming the new normal. Orbital, thank you very much for the Super Chat contribution, and hello from France. Bonjour. Paying $2,000 to lose more privacy? No. Edwin says no. Aaron, you ran a hostel. That's awesome. Where'd you run a hostel at? That's really freaking cool. The 1% of the people who need to share one way or another. I live in a little sleeper cell in my truck. I used to live in my car too. Green Fang says Americans lack cohabitation skills. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know. I got nothing to point to one way or another. Garden Gnome, just live out of motels. It would be cheaper than that. I don't know if that's true. Paying for a motel daily or even at a weekly rate, I doubt it would be much cheaper than $2,000 a month, if cheaper at all. I don't think that would be cheaper than $2,000 a month. Because it's like, it adds up. I know, like, when you look at the daily, it sounds like, oh, man. But when you add up the weeklies, it's not, at least not in that area. Maybe in some areas you could find a monthly motel that's cheaper than $2,000 a month. But in Marina Del Rey, I don't think that'd be the case. Let's see. I have a bedroom, but I slept in my basement with cats and robots. I said your name correctly, and that means a lot. You're very welcome. Overpopulation is the elephant behind the couch, said Zero Divisor. So, I guess some of you guys, oh man, that's so cool. Aaron ran a hostel in Australia. That is so neat. I want to tour in Australia, and I will play your hostel if it's still there. If you want, I will do a show at your hostel. I do love, and this is a different topic for a different day, but I used to really love the hostel subculture. And I don't know if it's still the way it was. Like, I don't know. I know in the United States it never really caught on the way it did in other parts of the world, but I did have some great hostel experiences in the United States. Green Tortoise up in Seattle is a really cool one. And San Francisco had a cool one. LA actually had, and I'm sure it's still there, the Hollywood Hostel used to be really cool. They would do barbecues where for $5 it was like all you could eat. And they would do different things where you could kind of stay there and work there in exchange for a bed. Yeah. The hostel will gladly have you play in their beer garden pool area. Drop me an email because I'm trying to tour Australia and we will make this happen. Drop me an email, Aaron, ronplacone.com, and we will make this happen. So yeah, I don't know if that culture's still like that or not. And this is a different topic for a different day. We're getting kind of off topic. But I would love, yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I guess I wanted to bring this up. I thought it'd be a fun topic for today. And yeah, that's my take on it. I'm not against it existing because we got to do something to fight what's going on and to have more affordable housing. But the idea of the gig economy and the shared economy just becoming the new normal because we can't do better, that's concerning. We should be looking into ways not just of adapting to our horrible circumstances, but of making them better. Because there's a lot we can do to make them better. I.e. have Medicare for all. I.e. have living wages. I.e. have a Green New Deal. A jobs program. A universal basic income combined with extensive rent control. So that's my take on that. Let's move on to other topics today. I'm excited about this article. And this is an interesting talking point. Topping point. That's what I said. It's morning. Where I'm at, it's morning. What are you going to do? By the way, shout out to our sponsors, ZT.com, ZHITEA.com, their T kind of rules, and microbinge.com. Looking for an alternative to Facebook? Sign up at Microbinge today. Microbinge.com. It's a fun platform. And the more people sign up, the more fun it'll be. Sign up today. All right. Appeals court rules lawmakers cannot block their critics on social media. Lawmakers beware, your social media accounts are not First Amendment free zones. On Monday the 4th, the U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals affirmed a 2017 decision holding that government officials may not block individuals on Facebook because of their viewpoints. Now, what about Twitter? Well, let's keep reading. The case, Davison versus Randall, has gotten much attention because of its obvious parallel to Donald Trump's unconstitutional effort to block his critics on Twitter. All right, so I guess it includes Twitter too. But the Fourth Circuit's sweeping decision goes beyond our blocker-in-chief to lay down a fundamental principle. Lawmakers may not retaliate against speech they dislike by suppressing expression on social media. Davidson revolves around the chair of the Loudoun County Board of Supervisors, Phyllis Randall. All right. The suppression of critical commentary regarding elected officials is the quintessential form of viewpoint discrimination against which the First Amendment guards. So Randall had therefore committed a cardinal sin under the First Amendment and was ordered to never again block critics from her Facebook page. The Fourth Circuit agreed. Randall's decision to ban Davison because of his allegation of government corruption constitutes black-letter viewpoint discrimination. Even worse, Randall engaged in this discrimination on a Facebook page that she herself converted into a public forum. So what's interesting here is that the court has decided that government officials cannot censor people on social media platforms because those social media platforms are public e-town squares. That's what this sounds like to me. So when are they going to go a step further and decide that Facebook themselves can't do that either? When are they going to decide that there needs to be a more extensive oversight as far as what is permitted, what isn't permitted? And what I'm referring to is, Facebook has censored and blocked certain anti-war websites, certain media pages, some that I strongly disagree with, some that are anti-war. So some I disagree with, some I don't. But nonetheless, they've been censored. And, I've said it before, we've talked about it before. I think that when you get to the point of a Facebook or a Twitter, you should be required, for the better of the public good, to follow the free speech laws of the United States. Or whichever country. I mean, I get it, this becomes complicated because Facebook's a global company. So, okay, but in the United States-based companies and pages, political pages, etc., need to follow the free speech laws of the United States. And I think in other countries, they ought to follow the free speech laws of those countries. And I get it, it's trickier than that, but the law has not caught up with technology yet. And we've talked about this, but here they are saying, well, politicians, you can't censor somebody because this is a public square. All right, well then, if it's a public square, Facebook can't do that either. They need to follow the free speech laws of the United States. So if you violate the free speech laws, can they censor you? Yeah. If you don't, can they censor you? No. And it would just be treated like a town square. So, whenever people throw those whataboutism arguments out there, they don't carry much water. I know, well, what if somebody's just posting nude photos all willy-nilly on Facebook? Then that's like, okay, here's the deal. If I was in a regular public square and I just take off all my clothes and start running around and I'm going, it's my freedom of speech, I'm going to be arrested for indecent exposure. That violates their community standards. And if I want to make a free speech claim, good luck. Good luck. That's a very big stretch. Good luck with that. Same goes here. Same goes here. Can there be community guidelines applied to something like pornography on a Facebook? Yes, of course there can. And if somebody's going to be like, oh, that violates my free speech, good luck. No, it's just this platform is not permitted for pornography. That's a guideline that we have for the betterment of the community. You violated that. we have authority here. However, if someone's making a political statement, well, then you can't overreach with censorship. It would be implemented the same way a community implements it. Would it be perfect? Certainly not. Would it be better than just letting a bunch of plutocrat billionaires in Silicon Valley decide what is and isn't free speech? Yes, it'd be better than that. Be a hell of a lot better than that. So this is an interesting leap that they're deciding that, not leap, but this is an interesting decision that, well, politicians can't determine what is and isn't free speech on social media. They can't overreach in censorship. So that means we should have some type of oversight for these platforms in general because they're a modern day town square. So it's an interesting concept. It really is. All right. Here's some Medicare for All news. Progressives will get their debate on Medicare for All and questions abound. I skimmed this article real quick right before we started, and parts of it kind of got on my nerves. We're going to talk about it. The debate about Medicare for All is about to get more serious and more complicated. The idea of creating a single national health insurance program for all Americans has been a big topic of political conversation since 2016. For some of us, it's been a conversation for a lot longer. But okay, we'll say since 2016. When Bernie Sanders touted it during his Democratic presidential campaign, Medicare for All couldn't be anything more than a rallying cry as long as Republicans controlled the levers of power in Washington. Political circumstances are different now. Democrats hold the House majority, and as Speaker Nancy Pelosi's office confirmed to the Washington Post on Thursday, at least 2 committees will hold hearings on Medicare for All this year. So Jay Appel is on board with Medicare for All. One reason Medicare for All will get a hard look is that the Democratic Party's increasingly powerful progressives are determined to improve upon the coverage gains made under the Affordable Care Act, which has helped many millions get health care, but also left many millions still struggling. Or without health care, by the way. Struggling is a very delicate way to put it. A single government insurance plan, progressives say, would be more efficient and effective than Obama's awkward mix of private and public plans. Yeah, no kidding. You know who supports what progressives are saying, by the way? Every other industrialized country in the world. As proof Medicare for All can work, they can cite the performance of national healthcare systems in countries such as Canada, Sweden, and Taiwan, and England, and Ireland, and Denmark, and, God, the list goes on and on. I mean, and Italy, and France, and Iceland. And at least 36 other countries that rank ahead of us in healthcare. As proof Medicare for All is popular, all right, so 59% among adults. All right, so here's where, but a Medicare for All system, like any complex policy enterprise, would entail difficult trade-offs. Yes, it's really difficult. How are we going to afford cheaper healthcare? It's really difficult having cheaper healthcare where nobody's left out. I mean, man, I'm having a hard time reconciling that, aren't you guys? Aren't you a little worried? Aren't you like, it's going to be difficult having nobody left out? I mean, if nobody's left out, what the hell are we going to talk about? I mean, some people got to be left out, so we're like, hey, look at these left out people. I mean, what are we going to talk about on these talk shows if nobody's left out? What, we're going to be like, hey, we fixed this. I guess we're like all the other countries where nobody goes bankrupt for medical bills. Sounds difficult, so I get it. This is really difficult. This article points it out. At some point, advocates need to figure out how they'll handle those, how they'll overcome the inevitable political resistance. Okay, so difficult trade-offs. Doesn't say what the trade-offs are, but it'll be political resistance. Political resistance, i.e. the donors don't want this. So the people that serve the donors will try to resist this. There you go. The existing Medicare for All proposals would basically eliminate private... Okay, so wait, here's the question. Should private insurance have any role at all? No. No, they shouldn't have any role at all. I don't know why there's a whole section devoted to this, author of this article. The answer is no. They should have absolutely no role at all. They should go bye-bye. The existing Medicare for All proposals would basically eliminate private insurance. Good. Because the new public program would cover everything. Good. Every single American would belong to it, and the law would prohibit private insurers from offering anything similar. Good. The political benefit of this simplicity is that it's easy to explain. Yeah, it would also cover everybody, and it would save us money. It would also cover everybody and save us money. But wiping out private insurance would also mean ending the insurance arrangements that the majority of Americans now have, either through their employers or through Medicare Advantage. Okay, so you're bummed out that we're not going to get to pay 3 times anymore because we pay our copay, we then pay our deductible, and we pay for our insurance plan every month. They get us 3 times. I have health insurance. I got a sinus infection. To get a prescription for a Z-Pack cost me over $200. I have health insurance. My fiance's health insurance is over twice as expensive as mine every month. Why? Because she's a female. Because she's a female. Nobody likes pointing that out, by the way. Nobody ever points that out. How actually how discriminatory gender-wise the Affordable Care Act is and our health insurance system is. Nobody ever talks about that. Which I've always found interesting. How Americans would feel about this is a big unknown. Yeah, they might like paying 3 times. They might like paying 3 times. As employer insurance gets more expensive, employers are passing along those higher costs to their workers in the form of higher copays and deductibles, to the point where some of the employees struggle to pay the bills. But we don't know how they'll feel about this. We don't know how they might be like, we like paying the bills. But employer coverage is still popular, at least according to some industry polling, underlined industry there. As the 2017 fight to repeal Obamacare and pretty much change of any sort is scary. Okay, that is a bullshit conclusion based on what that person just said. They said that support for employer coverage is still high. What are they basing that off of? Because people didn't want Obamacare repealed. Why did people not want Obamacare repealed? The Affordable Care Act, by the way, which is what it's called, because it's actually Mitt Romney's plan, by the way. Why did people not want that repealed? Because the alternative left out even more people. The alternative was even worse. So yes, do we want to have an additional 16 million people without health care? No, we don't. So we wanted to fight to not make things worse. That doesn't mean employer coverage is popular. That is such a bogus conclusion to jump to, based on what was really going on, and it's not assessing the situation properly at all. But this article is trying to present some neutral, both sides bullshit. So they're using this incredibly lazy analysis to justify our broken beyond repair healthcare system. The first part of the article that was talking about why Medicare for All is a good thing made perfect sense. Then they get into, oh, but should we have the health insurance guy? And now that they start making zero sense. This article makes no sense at all. The second half of it. Employer coverage is still really popular. Why? Because people didn't want to enact the AHCA, which would take 16 million people more off of healthcare. Makes zero sense. How generous should coverage be? Are you fucking kidding me? How generous? All right. No more copays, no more coinsurance, no more deductibles. Yes, that's right. Out-of-pocket would basically under Medicare for All. The only exception would be a provision that would allow some token cost sharing to encourage use of generic drugs. The logic here is that copays and deductible inevitably fall hardest on the sick because they have the highest medical bills. Oh, and guess what? We all get sick eventually. But zero cost sharing could also encourage people to get care they don't need. This is a bullshit right-wing talking point. Who goes, hey, I want to go to the doctor because it's fun? Does anyone do that? Does anyone go, oh, I want to go? Sounds neat. Which, by the way, guess what? A yearly checkup, that's not something you don't need. That's something you fucking need. Oh, people might get care they don't need. They haven't been to the doctor in 10 years. They might go now. Good! You should get a checkup every year. Ask somebody who had a preventative checkup where a heart condition was found. Tell them you don't need to get a checkup every year. Tell somebody who had some type of heart murmur that could have been something more serious, and they found out a mild surgery was required, and if they didn't get that mild surgery, they'd be dead in 5 years. Tell them that a yearly checkup is you don't need that. People get care they don't need. Fuck off. Fuck off hard. I mean, do we need to continue? Do you guys see how the second half of this article that's trying to justify the for-profit insurance industry is bullshit? It's like they're not even trying. How should government finance the program? Medicare for All envisions the federal government spending a lot more money on healthcare than it does today. The government has to find that money. Guess what? We're already spending it. We're already spending it. We're already spending it. We're already spending it. Instead of spending it on a for-profit middleman, we would spend it in a single-payer system, and everybody would have Medicare. So we would just redistribute the resources we're already spending. This has been proved mathematically multiple times. A study funded by the Koch brothers with the intention to debunk Medicare for All failed at doing so and actually proved Bernie Sanders right that his plan would save money. We're already spending the fucking money. It's like saying, hey, everybody's paying $300 a month for a car, and the car's really shitty, and it's basically a lemon, but they have to pay this bullshit insurance company. We could get them a car insurance payment that's $200 a month, but technically the government would be footing that $200 a month because they would then pay it to the government. How can we afford that? You're paying less. We're already paying more. We're going to pay less now. Everyone pitches into it, and you pay for it. That's how it works. It saves money. We're already spending the money. We already spend more and get less than every other industrialized fucking country. Every other fucking one. All right, we're done with this. You guys get it. What a stupid article. I got to present the insurance industry side. No, actually you don't. You don't. You don't. Not if it's going to be complete and utter bullshit. Let's do something fun. All right. So this is from Matt Taibbi's latest book, and it is a paid post. So, yeah. We can't explore all of it, but we can have a discussion. All right. All the folk devils are here. Most of the old revenue streams are gone except one big one. In the mid-60s, a South African sociologist named Stanley Cohen focused on a seemingly parochial topic. He was interested in news headlines about gangs of mods and rockers clashing at seaside holiday resorts around Great Britain. The narrative had taken the nation and the world by storm, and we can't see the rest of it because it's a paid post. Now, what's interesting here is that Matt Taibbi uses the mods and the rockers. Now, what is that? That was two dual music movements in the 60s that they would clash. Not the Clash, but they would clash. The mods were people like The Who. The Who were mods. And the rockers was like, I guess like Eddie Cochran, stuff like that. Some of the more skiffle stuff. And they would kind of clash. They dressed differently. They danced differently. And sometimes they would fight each other. And sometimes it got a little violent. There were some deaths involved. Keith Moon's chauffeur got killed. There's a really good podcast about tragic music stories called Disgraceland. I highly recommend it. Disgraceland's a great music podcast. And they tell the story about what happened to Keith Moon's chauffeur. But Matt Taibbi takes the example of the mods and the rockers and uses it to critique the media, which I am very fascinated to read more of. Unfortunately, that's a paid post, so we can't see all of it. But I am going to try to get his new book from the library, which brings me to another talking point I wanted to bring up. One of you guys, right before the new year, recommended that we do a book segment where we do recommended reading. I'm for it, and we're going to start doing it. And we will start that next week. So, yeah. Just letting you know. We're going to do that, and we're going to talk about books we're reading, books we've read, books we recommend. And I'm going to have some special news for that, too. Cliffhanger. And the other music thing I wanted to bring up today is David Bowie's birthday. David Bowie unfortunately passed away several years ago. And, you know, I was talking about it with my fiance. In 2016, and I think leaking into 2017 too a little bit, my list of people I'll never get to see that I really wanted to see got a lot bigger. A lot of people got added to that list. David Bowie was the biggest one added to that list. Leonard Cohen also got added to that list. Prince got added to that list. Now, somebody who was not on that list, Lemmy, because I saw Lemmy right before he died. I got to see Motorhead right before he died. You know who else got added to that list? Chuck Berry got added to that list. Which, that was a hard one. I really wanted to see Chuck Berry. Chuck Berry, right up until about the time he died, was doing a residency in St. Louis, because that's where he was living. And I eventually just made peace with it. I was like, I got to go up to St. Louis to see Chuck Berry. It's just got to happen. At the time, or like, you know, shortly before he died, there was a period of time where I was living in Nashville, which isn't that far from St. Louis. And I was touring full time, so I wasn't around all that often. And I just never got the chance to see Chuck Berry. But, and for me personally, the big one on my list now that I got to see before they die is Paul McCartney. I really got to see, or before he stops touring. I have a feeling Paul McCartney will retire from touring before he passes away. But, you know, so I guess when I say die, I don't mean literal. I just mean like until I no longer have an opportunity, I got to see frickin' Paul McCartney. That's one of those, you know, the Stones are coming to Pasadena where I live. Tickets are really expensive. And me and my fiance were considering it, but she's not a huge Stones fan. And I've seen the Stones before. So I told her, I'm like, it's more for you than me. I've seen the Stones before. You have not seen the Stones. I would love to see them again. If tickets are crazy expensive, I don't need to see them again. But if you really want to see them, I'll go. So it's more in your court than mine. But Paul McCartney, that was one of the ones... I will spend as much money as I can afford to see that. And that's one person on my bucket list. You know, Leonard Cohen, that one hurt. Chuck Berry, that one hurt. Bowie, that one hurt. Prince, that one hurt. Never saw any of them. So I guess my question, and I want to go to the chat real quick before we continue. And then there's one more thing I want to do, and then I'll go to the chat again, and then we're going to end today. Is there anyone on your bucket list that you really didn't get to see that you were really hoping to see? And we'll answer that shortly. But put your answers now in the chat. And then we'll go to the chat for a longer period of time. So here is the last thing I really wanted to do today. And this is something else I wanted to talk about. Jordan wanted us to explore this. And it looks into Tulsi Gabbard. So Tulsi Gabbard is a rising progressive star despite her support for Hindu nationalists. So this is not my first exposure to these accusations against her. But having skimmed this, I'm not sure if there's much here. And what I mean by that is, yeah, she did have a certain background. She was more conservative at one point in time. Everything I've seen so far, including this very article, points more towards her distancing herself from all that than it does that it's still a part of her. Now, again, we should have a skeptical lens to everybody. That includes Tulsi Gabbard, of course. And if there's anything that comes to the surface that changes my assessment, I am all ears. Thus far, I've not really found anything indicating that's the case, other than she was raised in this background. And she has since evolved from it. Indian strongman Narendra Modi became prime minister of the world's largest democracy. He was a prominent leader of the Hindu right. Okay, so this guy is affiliated with the nationalist organization, the RSS, who I'm not crazy familiar with. I've just heard the basics. And he's been accused of anti-Muslim sentiments. All right, so Gabbard, a member of the House Committees on Foreign Affairs and Armed Services and co-chair of the India Caucus, is an oddity in American politics. Ever since her 2016 resignation to endorse Bernie Sanders, last year she racked up endorsements. Okay. But she is also becoming a polarizing figure. Her progressive domestic policies are at odds with her support for authoritarians abroad, including Modi, Sisi, and Bashar al-Assad. Just because you're questioning what's going on in Syria and questioning our involvement does not mean you're pro-Assad. As right-wing nationalism rises across the globe, it is beginning to become recognized as an existential threat to a world order rooted in liberal democratic values. And Gabbard, an Iraq war veteran, is now being pushed to choose sides. Okay, Gabbard was embraced early, and they had donated to her campaigns, the pro-Modi elements. She has publicly ties with those, while continuing to court them in public. Okay, so how has she courted them in public? In June of 2014, after Modi won the election, nearly 700 of his supporters gathered at a Hindu temple. All right. They laid out a plan that included a call for donation to Gabbard's campaign. They described the Hawaii Democrat as an American Hindu who has fought against the anti-Modi resolution. Okay. The event was organized, all right, by this group. Gabbard landed on the group's radar. But Gabbard herself was not involved. So Gabbard herself was not involved with this. Also in 2014, Gabbard attended an OFB JP event where a senior politician of Modi's government was present. He took the stage. With the support of non-resident Indians, your victory later this year is a foregone conclusion. She cruised to re-election. Hindu Americans have supported Gabbard, and that support has increased substantially since Modi's election, much of it coming from Hindu nationalists. Dozens of Gabbard's donors have expressed strong sympathy or have ties to this group. According to our analysts, at least 105 current and former officers and members. Okay. But she herself has not really rubbed elbows with them. All right, so since 2013, she's attended conferences. Okay, so here's some of the other stuff she's done. So here's something else. In November of 2017, Gabbard announced she would be chairing the 2018 World Hindu Congress, a conference held once every 4 years organized by the VHPA and RSS that has drawn other Hindu groups. In addition to Hindu nationalists, she described the event as a global platform where Hindus will be able to come together, share ideas, and speak positively. So this is what she thought she was doing, a global platform for Hindus. But 5 months later, she withdrew. And she said that there were ethical concerns and problems that surrounded my participation. After a re-election, all right, let's see here. Gabbard is playing to certain galleries, hoping not to attract their ire and their wrath. Wrote Ramesh Rao, a professor of communication at Columbus State University, in a column for Swarajya, a pro-Hindu nationalist publication in India. It is easy to distance herself from Hindus and Hindu organizations because she knows they are easygoing. Let's forget the past. Let's join hands together. Kind of folks who will continue to send her money in support of her election campaigns and write about her potential of becoming president of the United States. Maybe not. After her re-election, however, Bari had a change of heart and asked Gabbard for a meeting. On November 14th, he met with her at the Capitol Hill office. They spoke about the World Hindu Congress, ultimately reaching a happy consensus to put that episode behind us. Within a couple weeks of meeting, Bari said Gabbard held a press conference call with about 50 of her Hindu American supporters, including Ashsana, the VHPA president. They talked about her consideration of a presidential run. So, you know, and again, I'm still, learning about all the players involved in this too. So I'm certainly not posing as any type of authority on it. I'm not, and I'll openly say I'm not. But it seems to me like she has intentions geared towards Hindu rights and domestically supporting the Hindu community. And when you apply that to the international stage, there is a wide umbrella that she is trying to navigate. Similarly, she has a particular background that, to my knowledge, was a strict religious background that she has evolved from in recent years. I had, and again, this is something to be aware of, to keep an eye on, to wonder where it goes, but a lot of these meetings, it seems like she's just trying to, again, foster that community and the wide umbrella. There's certain associations, and it seems like she is distancing herself from those that take, a more extremist approach. That's what it looks like to me. Again, if there's more that comes to the surface, I'm all ears. But that's kind of what it looks like to me. And this article is kind of just, I'm not saying it's a bad article. It's not. It's a good article. But it seems to just sort of be presenting the associations as they are and saying, hey, have a skeptical lens, which is fine. But, going big picture with it, I've had conversations with people that, they're like, I'm not going to support Tulsi Gabbard. I had a conversation with a friend of mine. He said, Tulsi Gabbard, not into it. And I said, okay, why not? Like, well, she used to be, blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, underline she used to be. She used to be against gay marriage. She has evolved on it. She used to have a very strict religious background. She has evolved on it. And my friend happened to be a Republican in high school. I said, you were a Republican in high school, right? He said, yes. I was like, so you were against all that stuff too, right? Yes. He's a big progressive now. I said, okay, so you're allowed to evolve, but Tulsi Gabbard isn't. Why is that? He did not have an answer. And again, I'm not saying, I'm just saying so far I've not seen anything definitive that any type of fascist, authoritarian, or extremist ideas are something Tulsi Gabbard endorses. I think it's more she's looking out for a community in a positive and genuine way, and, again, the umbrella's wide. And if ever there's more than that, I'm all ears. But until then, I think the verdict's still out. But we should always have skepticism. So let me see what you guys are saying in regards to all the stuff we just looked at. All right. You should use Streamlabs. I get that a lot. I got to look into it. You look like a young Abe Edmondson. I'm not sure if that's an insult or not, but thank you for the Super Chat contribution. Because I'm not positive who that is off the top of my head. All right. Let's see what you guys are saying. Statutory says, I still don't see how she's a Hindu nationalist. I don't think she is. I don't think she is. What's wrong with Hindu rights? Absolutely nothing. That's what I'm saying. I think that's what she's going for, and I think she's trying to do the right thing. Let's see. Omar never got to see Joy Division. As far as artists goes, Iggy Pop, the Pixies, Kurt Vile, Tom Waits, or The Cure. You can still see, I think, all of those, pretty much. Kurt Vile I'm not familiar with. But Tom Waits, still going. The Cure, still going. The Pixies, still going. Iggy Pop. And I've seen all of those you mentioned except for Tom Waits and Kurt Vile. John Lee Hooker. Watson never got to see John Lee Hooker. Me neither. Statutory says, it seems like a bit of conjecture, her involvement with the guy. I agree. I mean, so far that seems to be all it is. You know, I mean, Jordan wanted us to go through this article, and I thought it would be interesting to go through. Again, we should always have a skeptical lens to everybody. We should always, you know, be weary of whatever, or aware of whatever. But, you know, again, you have to kind of look into stuff and be like, well, is this a valid criticism or not? Dan wouldn't mind seeing Aesop Rock. I wouldn't mind seeing Aesop Rock either, and that's a reasonable. You could totally do that. Tom Waits almost never tours. That's very true. Kurt Vile, I need to look into. Clearly, you guys are making it obvious for me. I need to look into Kurt Vile. Ramones, Cramps, Buzzcocks. That's a good list, Mike S. Edwin says, I will like Kurt Vile. Death is awesome. I did get to see Death. They're great. Let's see. Oh, man. GD NPB saw the Clash 3 times. Man. Could you give me one of them? I never got to see the Clash. That'll always kind of hurt. I remember the day Joe Strummer died. I remember that day. I was in high school. Guys, we are totally out of time. Tour dates, romplacone.com. I'm hitting the road tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm in Gainesville, Florida. I know some of you are going to be there. If you're not, you can still get tickets. romplacone.com for tickets. Florida, Gainesville tomorrow. Coral Gables Thursday. Orlando on Friday. And Jacksonville Saturday. Come on out, Florida. Tickets at romplacone.com. Also, tickets are available for Pensacola, Lafayette, New Orleans, Houston, Texas, Fort Worth, Texas, Austin, Texas, San Antonio, Texas, Salt Lake City, Boise, Idaho, Washington, D.C., and we're coming to New Haven, Connecticut. Tickets for that will be available real soon. We just confirmed that show, and we'll be coming to more places on the East Coast. If you can support this show on the sustainability end, please do consider becoming a patron. Patreon.com/romplacone. For a give what you can level, you get all kinds of exclusive content, and you're helping me build this thing, helping me fight for municipal broadband. You know the drill. Give what you can level. If you can't afford it, no problem. If you got an extra $1 a month that you want to throw my way, great. Cool. You guys are awesome. Thank you. Lucy says hi. We will be gone the rest of this week. No live shows the rest of this week. But I'll be back on Monday, and I got a special treat for you guys on Monday. I can't wait. You guys are gonna be so stoked for this. We're gonna have a really special treat for Music Monday and Literature Monday on Monday, January 14th. So I will see you guys then live. Clips will be coming out. Also, the podcast will be out on Friday. So everything will still be coming out, but no live streams. You guys are awesome. Thank you for being part of this. Happy Tuesday.